I am finally back from Chicago, and I'm finally back from Combo Breaker. The Mortal Kombat 1 tournament was absolutely fantastic there, with a really fun top 8, and it was a pleasure to commentate. Unfortunately, I'm a little bit under the weather, so instead of doing one of my normal go-through history of Mortal Kombat games, etc., I would instead make a video today focusing on one thing in particular that we saw at Combo Breaker, and that is OMNI-MAN and Movado, a team that took everyone by surprise, and of course, it was Sonicfox using this team in the top 8. Now, this video is to go over how this team works, some really key info, and importantly, how to actually execute some of this yourself. It is one of the craziest teams I've seen in the game, it is one of the greatest uses of Movado, and clearly in the top 8 was good enough to get the job done at the highest level. So, let's talk about Combo Breaker, how this team worked, and importantly, how to play the team yourself. So as we jump into this training mode, and this is definitely the kind of video I will be playing live footage from. I mean, Sonicfox using it in action just kind of makes the most sense for a video like this. I gotta be honest, I had to learn this team for the purposes of this video, and it's a bit tricky to get your head around at first. However, once you start to get the execution in your mind, things start to get really interesting. So to begin with, what is OMNI-MAN and Movado actually doing? The main thing is that many buttons of OMNI-MAN that are not intended to launch now launch, and that means a great deal. It kind of goes against, almost, the idea of OMNI-MAN's moveset. For example, his launching back 1-1 that has a high that you can crouch, versus a safe but mid back 1-2. So there's always a mind game there to essentially deter an opponent from crouching, whereas now, if you crouch this at all, it's a full combo. And you can turn that into Viltrumite stance, although it can be a little bit tight. I would suggest going for the up version, because it's much easier on the execution side of things. The launch is larger, essentially. And this is kind of the idea of OMNI-MAN Movado, is that strings that do not launch, for example 2-2-2, this now becomes a launcher as well, thanks to what Movado is bringing to the table. You're getting a lot more combo opportunities for buttons that are used in pressure all the time, and that for OMNI-MAN is really important, because how often do you see 2-2-2? The opponent kind of eats the final hit, or maybe they'll try and flawless block, or not quite get the reversal there. They kind of eat that final hit. Now you can turn it into a full combo because you just call in Movado, and then an easy confirm is just 2-2 Viltrumite stance into your standard ender. And while the combo's over, Movado has half regenerated already. It is the efficiency of the cameo recharge that really helps this team as much as it currently does. This is just kind of one area of this though. The first area is just turning things into launchers that do not launch normally. And remember, Movado is impossible to waste. If I'm inputting Movado here, he will not come out at all. There's no chance, because he only comes out for his combo extension on hit. So if you're doing this, you may as well just input Movado every time, because if they eat one of these buttons, OMNI-MAN is now going to get a full combo. And this kind of extension is very easy. There may be some more optimals lying in there. I am not an OMNI-MAN player, so I'm sure there is more damage to be done, but you're getting a lot of damage. I'm going to go over and list some of the things that do become full combos when they're normally not supposed to. The first of which, 2-2-2. I've demonstrated this already, now it's a combo. Back 1-2, mid, this string is. It exists to deter an opponent from crouching back 1-1. Back 1-2 becomes a launcher. Again, if you want an easier version, you can do the version where Movado flies in, because if you're a little bit slow, the up version might miss the opponent because of just how he flies, but he has got a better launch. The up one is my preferred option, to be honest, because I do prefer the higher juggle. But it is a little bit easier to drop sometimes, so keep that one in mind. Other things that launch, and this is a really big one, back forward 2. Your back forward 2 becomes a launcher. You ideally would probably want to do the version where Movado flies into them for this one, because it is a very tight window. If you try and do the up version, again, it can come out, but depending on range, might be a little bit more unlikely. But either way, if you manage to get this launch, again, back forward 2, you just do your standard Viltrumite ender, 2-1-2 in the air, dash, 1-2 grab, and 332 damage just for that. So the important thing about back forward 2 is that this whiff punishes from a really great distance. So if someone whiffs something like a gunshot or something, Omni-Man can just boom, full combo. And yes, his armored reversal exists as well. This gives Omni-Man a armored launcher and a easy to time armored launcher, because again, I must remind everyone, it is impossible to waste this. Movado only comes out on hit, so if you're armoring a gap, let's say you're going to go for a wake-up attack or something, if you just input Movado just in case, on block, you're obviously going to get punished for this move, but on hit, he comes out, and that's a full combo for you. Armored launchers do tend to scale a bit, unless you're Kung Lao or something. Omni-Man getting 260, just shy of. For this move, that is very, very powerful. But it isn't just that in the special moves department. Viltrumite Stance 3. This is not safe, of course. You can up-block this, but how many Omni-Man players have you either seen or fought, or maybe you play them yourself, where you kind of catch the occasional Viltrumite Stance 3? This only launches under certain conditions, really. It's very hard to get anything mid-screen, depending on if things kind of just perfectly line up. It's a bit easier in the corner. Movado, again, boom, launcher. If that hits and you've got Movado, once more, I would like a combo, please. Over 300 damage. It's the same idea. You launch, you Viltrumite, you one, and you finish. Like I said, there's probably a little bit higher damage out there, but this is just the easiest version, so if you're going to try and get damage, you may as well just go for that, unless you have some optimals. On the subject of optimals, I have a few things to show. These combos are a bit tricky at first, but bear with me, I will try and run you through how it works. Let's talk about the massive damage. Before I forget as well, one thing I totally should have mentioned, Omni-Man's back forward 1. This move's really good, isn't it? It's fast, the EX version crushes projectiles, and it's almost full screen. You can probably assume where I'm going with this. Back forward 2, or back forward 1, full screen. And you can full combo. This combo is tricky, I'm not gonna lie. It requires you to do a back forward 1, instant Movado, and an instant air back forward 4. It is tricky to time, but if you do have enough practice in this, it can become consistent for you. But the second standing 2 is a little bit weird, because outside of standard combos, this one's very restrictive. But you can in fact get a full combo. It's one of those things that I think with this team might be the hardest thing that you can do, but when you get it, we just did a full screen back forward 1 and got just shy of 370 damage for it. There are many moving pieces to that, and I will again run you through kind of how that works, but this is a really, really powerful tool for Omni-Man. You can get it from the standard back forward 1, but the screen kind of depends. You need to have them a little bit further away so that Movado has time to actually land on them. If I do back forward 1 at close range, certain distances this kind of risks dropping like that, and the reason for that is because they fly backwards right as Movado has been called to land on them. Essentially, they just fly right past him, and that's because of screen space. Now, if you are nearly full screen, this almost never drops because they have no more distance to travel. And this is why it works actually better at max range than it does anywhere else, because Movado will always land on top of them. If you look, and I'll slow this footage down, you will notice that there's nowhere for them to go, which means that Movado, for the most part, will always land on them. You just need to have their back as further to the wall as can be, and then the follow-up combo, although difficult, very high damage. This isn't even optimal, by the way. You can do this into Movado, into instant air dash, do a standing 2 into another one of these, and then extend, but that is too hard for me. It does more damage, but it is incredibly difficult to time, but I will shout out Deadly Rebel for really showing everyone that it can be done. I'll try and show the clip on the video if I can, because it is insanely high damage and very, very cool. Right, so I was talking about optimals. Omni-Man, when he normally gets full combos, your kind of standard confirm in a lot of instances is something like button into Viltrumite Stance. You just do jump in 2-1-2, dash, 1-2 grab. That's the standard combo, is you just confirm into Viltrumite Stance. A bit later down the line, players discovered that there were some optimals involving this move, and it's a bit confusing how to get that launch. If you try and do it on the ground, for example, you will notice they just fly away. If you are airborne and above the opponent, it has a different hit reaction. This one turns into a launcher. The optimal department came from stuff like, let's say I do back 1-1, right? This kind of combo. Now the opponent's getting launched instead of sent flying away. And how this works is that OMNI-MAN kind of, at the time of collision, has to be above the opponent. And this kind of combo kind of naturally times. Like if you get the 1-2 high up and then an instant standing 3, it kind of times itself, really. It's just how the combo works. It just times itself to ensure that that distance exists. You can do something very similar from Viltrumite Stance 1, Instant Jump 1, 3 back forward 4, and again, this is a bit tricky to time because it's not a one-size-fits-all. You have to wait, and then you get the increased juggle. This can go wrong if you do it at a different height and OMNI-MAN is not in the right position. They will just fly away. Let's see if I can purposefully mistime it. There you go. They fly away, and you've got some okay damage, but it's obviously not going to be a full combo. The rule is that you just have to be at the time of impact above them. So some combos will time it on its own, like this one, back 1-1, 1-2, 3 back forward 4, and then an ender, right, or whatever you want to do. That's kind of how you set that up. And the reason I'm talking about this in particular is because these combos with Movado combined are where you get some incredibly high damage. So, for example, let me show you this. We just got basically 430 damage off a back 1. A back 1 which becomes a lot more scary because the launch, this could be used as a punish, but should they eat the launcher, which could happen because now they're afraid of the mid, which can become a combo as well, remember. You got big damage off a single back 1, which is a fast mid. A 12 frame, slightly advancing mid. This is a very, very powerful mid. And now you're getting that kind of damage. It's really strong. Let's talk about other optimals, and those that watch the Combo Breaker Top 8 would have seen this one before. Another instance where I got a standing button that could be used as a punish or something similar into over 400 damage. And important to note, when I do these kind of combos, keep an eye on the cameo gauge. It's regenerating at an extremely generous pace. So after these kind of combos, Movado, at least one of the meters is already available, and we're only using 1 per. There are some combos where you can use 2, again, like the back forward 1 combo I showed you, but it's all very, very high damage. And a big part of this extension comes from the standing 2 into the back forward 2 up Movado. This is a very important linker, I suppose. You really need to have this in mind because it just perfectly times that Movado comes down on top of them and you have time to jump in. So for example, this combo right here, it is the close range launching Movado that allows the instant jump 2-1. You can do 2-1-2 at the end. It is possible, and it does a little bit more damage, but it is way harder to time. If you want to do this kind of combo yourself, I advise mostly just doing the 2 hits. Like this. Because you're still getting 427 damage, but the 2-1 dash doesn't drop. The 2-1-2 has to be much more precisely timed. So, although there is higher damage, and obviously Sonicfox was able to do that, I'm not Sonicfox, it's a much harder combo. It can be done, but again, if you want consistency, just go for the 2-1 instead. I've been spending this entire video talking just about these extensions, but Movado does have other tools. If you're going for any of these basic combos, and you get any kind of damage, let's keep it really simple here. Let's just go for a standard confirm. Let's not forget, OTG exists, and standing 1-2 is +3. So if the opponent gets hit by that, you're just going to get an extra 50 or so damage for the OTG, but should they get knocked onto the floor, you can just call in the OTG and then enforce plus frames, because OMNI-MAN's 1-2 is plus on block. And this is one of his main strings, because he's plus, right, to enforce frame advantage. If they get hit by any of these, you can simply turn it into a combo. And because of the optimals that now exist with Movado, you can get over 400 damage. So you're throwing out this string that's plus on block and over 400 damage on hit. This combo is quite hard to time. As you can see, I'm definitely not getting it 100%. It comes down to doing the early jump 1, just to give you an idea. Early jump 1, and then you have to kind of wait a split second to make sure that you are higher than the opponent. What I'm doing there is my standing 3 is coming out too early, so the opponent doesn't have time to fall down. And this isn't me kind of trying to show that I'm an execution god, so obviously I'm going to keep these mistakes in, because I need to really push the idea that it is kind of weird to time, but when you get it, the launch exists, and the launch is where the massive damage comes from. So being able to have the +1/2, which is +3 on block, and on hit, you get a full combo into massive damage. It's a very, very scary mind game. And then you couple that with the fact that he has lightning fast whiff punish, again into full combos now. He becomes a bit of a monster, because he has really good movement. His forward dash is incredible. His back dash is good. His instant dash movement is decent as well, especially the back dash version for creating distance. You can do the EX back forward one, and again, if you're at the right distance, that becomes a full combo if you have the execution to do your instant air back forward 4. This character becomes a lot more, I suppose, complete. It's very weird to even suggest complete, but he isn't having to use expensive or long cooldown cameos to get incredibly high damage, while being able to truly maximize his entire toolset and get humongous damage on the opponent. And against someone like Peacemaker, we were clearly seeing Sonicfox do some really good stuff here. Overall, Omni-Man is just such a scary character. There are other things you can do that most characters can, so if you do certain strings or grabs, you can obviously grab the opponent into a mine and get a full combo from that. This is going to scale because it's a ground combo or a grab combo, so that always scales massively. But the utility of mine, very, very useful for him. Being able to get knockdowns and enforce an OTG into plus frames that, if you're at the right distance, can jail into +3, into more pressure and weird situations. Being able to do certain combos that end, and some of you have probably fought against Omni-Man in the past that will do something like, let's just go for this really simple combo, right? They purposely time it so they meaty with the overhead portion of the 2-2-2, and normally you'd kind of have to go into Viltrumite stance, which isn't exactly safe. Now you can just do 2-2-2 on its own, and then just buffer Movado. And if he hits and you do manage to get that meaty overhead, I've now got myself a full combo as well. So what I wanted to do with this video is kind of just show what this team is currently doing at a basic level and how impactful it can be. It obviously takes away 100 health, so we have to remember that. But given the fact that Omni-Man explodes in damage and has way more means to actually land said damage because of extra strings now having extra utility, he is an incredible pairing with Movado, and something that definitely took not only the competitors by surprise, but the entire crowd, us. Everyone was shocked to see this working the way it did, and clearly one of the better pairings for Omni-Man, in my opinion, and it worked well against Peacemaker. Sonicfox did incredibly well with it. That's going to be everything for today. Thank you so much for watching. Take care of yourselves. I will be doing some more content very, very soon. I really want to go back to some retro Mortal Kombat and do some more countdowns and the like. I miss them. I've just been quite busy at the moment. So take care of yourselves, everyone. Take care times a million, and I'll see you next time. God, I think that's the worst outro I've ever done.